Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's live stream. My name is David Matney from Nebraska Realty, and tonight we're going to I'm flying solo tonight. Don't have a guest tonight, but tonight we're going to talk about the job numbers and what it has done to mortgage interest rates. And we're going to discuss an article from Housing Wire. And then we're also going to take a little sneak peek at the numbers for the Omaha market. And then I got another article where we're going to talk about who's really buying up all the homes in the United States. So we're going to talk about that. And then I thought it'd be kind of fun to kind of take a look at some maybe some opportunities in the local market, maybe look to see if there's any deals out there, but that sort of thing. So with that, hopefully you can hear me okay in the chat. If you can hear me okay and the sound's good, if you can let me know in the chat, that would be great. And we'll kick things off with this first article. Okay. And then what it has to deal with is mortgage interest rates. And if we look at mortgage interest rates, and this is going back from January 1st, uh, 2025 till now, interest rates are now at the lowest they have been all year. Okay, so I thought it'd be fun to kind of talk about that. Hey, we got MH08. I got to say that 3 times. Uh, all right, welcome. And then, of course, hey, Clark. Clark's on board. So, Clark, welcome. It's great to see you, buddy. So, thanks for stopping by, guys. And we'll take a look and but anyway, we'll talk about that and we'll go to this first article here and kind of uh, discuss it here real quick. All right. And it says mortgage rates hit lowest levels of 2025. Okay. The 10-year dipped Monday following Friday's jobs report. So Friday, they had some bad economic numbers in terms of jobs. And what that does is when there's bad economic news, investors tend to flee to the bond market when there's more bonds being, more demand for bonds that drives the yield down. So, and then what happens, mortgage interest rates are kind of follow the 10-year treasury yield. So when the 10-year treasury yield goes down, that's good for mortgage interest rates. And that's what we've seen. And and I'll share this. Like I said, rates went down to 6.58%. So when rates go down, it makes more homes more affordable. Now, are we anywhere, you know, it's good for 2025, but still, compared to where we were when rates were, uh, you know, 2.5% or 3%, rates are still higher. But when rates go down, it makes homes more affordable. But let's jump into this article, and it's by Logan Motoshami, who is somebody that I follow, very knowledgeable, and doesn't calls balls and strikes in terms of the housing market and that sort of thing. So, following the surprising jobs report released on Friday, the 10-year yield dips slightly on Monday. As a result, mortgage rates have reached a new low for 2025, with mortgage daily news reporting a rate of 6.57%. Remarkably, we haven't seen a single Fed rate cut this year. Okay. And there's a lot of debate over that because, of course, President Trump wants the Fed to lower um, the Fed funds rate, and that hasn't happened. So that has the bond market influences the Federal Reserve, and the recent weak jobs report caused yields to drop significantly last Friday. Currently, the 10-year yield remains slightly lower. I discussed the jobs report in detail in this article and on this episode of Housing Wire Daily Podcast. Given today's drop, let's discuss what we should focus on for the rest of the year. Where does this drop fit in the forecast? Okay, so every year, Logan does a forecast in terms of rates and that sort of thing. So in my 2025 forecast, I anticipated the following ranges: mortgage rates between 5.75% and 7.25%, and the 10-year yield fluctuating between 3.8% and 4.7%. Currently, we are about halfway through my projected mortgage rate range for 2025, and we are just 40 basis points away from the lowest level of my 10-year yield. Last year, I had a similar mortgage rate range of 7.25% to 5.75%, but the actual rates fluctuated between 7.5 and 6.08%. During that period, the bond market was quite concerned about a potential recession, which caused the 10-year yield to drop as low as 3.63%. However, as economic data improved, bond yields and mortgage rates rose again, ultimately reaching 7.25%. And that's just the thing. When we have good economic news, then that doesn't inspire the Fed to lower the Fed funds rate. So it's kind of one of those things that you got to almost hope for, if you're buying a home, bad news in order for rates to go down. Okay. As I write this, the 10-year yield is at 4.2%, and there has been a dramatic shift in yield since the recent jobs report, as shown in this chart below. Let's take a look at this chart. Okay. And there it is right there. The 10-year yield drops, and then mortgage rates follow because they move in tandem. Okay. What to look for now? As always, weaker economic data may lower bond yields, potentially reaching my target of 3.8%. However, the market will need to justify taking bond yields lower after Powell's hawkish Fed press conference. And that's just the thing. There's a lot of debate and a lot of argument, and two people can be right at once. That the Fed wants, Jerome Powell is kind of thinking, hey, we need to keep things the way they are, and the president, of course, wants them to lower rates. Now, who's right on that? I mean, time will tell. 4 years ago, when everybody thought inflation was transitory, they should have raised rates sooner. They didn't. And what happened to prices? Everything went, they had to tamp the brakes on the economy on that because it was just overheated and we had runaway inflation. Well, then now that that has slowed sales, the president wants the Fed to lower rates in order to spur the economy, in order to increase home sales. So there's a back and forth with that. Now, Powell is on his way out. His term expires in May, so we'll see how that goes. But what's kind of interesting, on Friday they had the jobs report, and that came in low. I think it was 75,000 jobs, and they always have to revise that, and they do it off of a survey. So when they email these surveys out to businesses, the businesses respond. And a lot of these businesses don't respond to those surveys. So it's not the most accurate thing to start with. So, so he didn't like the numbers. So then he fires the whoever's in charge of the Bureau of Labor and Statistics or whatever. But, now, it's kind of a shoot the messenger type of thing. So we'll see how that goes. But let's see where. As Fed Governor Adriana Krugler resigned on Friday, I anticipate the White House will seek to appoint someone quickly to fill the position to challenge Jerome Powell at the next meeting. And there was a little bit of debate going back, when the governors met. They didn't all agree that they should keep. Some of them thought that they should lower rates. And I think the anticipation now is that they'll lower rates in September. So we'll see how that all plays out. Hey, we got Angie is here. Angie Madcat. She's here. Okay, terrific. All right. Let's see. Clark says, if interest rates get lower, do you think more investors would start buying than home buyers? Or do you think both will get back in and cause prices to go back up again? Um, yeah, that's, you know what, Clark, that's a great question. Um, I think if rates would go lower, I think you'd have more home buyers. I don't know if um, investors would necessarily. I might tend to. My thought process would be it'd be more home buyers versus investors. Okay, that would be um, my thought process on that. But who knows on that? I mean, that's what. What do you think, Clark? Do you think it'll be more investors, or do you think it'll be more home buyers? I mean, now you're in a different market. You know, and in Clark's in Atlanta, Georgia, and there's a lot of more institutional investors in the Atlanta market than in other markets, if I understand correctly. So and I don't know what the appeal of that is, why the institutional investors see opportunity in Atlanta. I think um, let's see. Do you think do you think investors should be limited on buying family homes? Um, I don't, Angie, and here's why. Um, if you uh, if you almost got to be afraid of unintended consequences. What happens if you don't have those investors? What happens to rent prices if there's not enough rentals out there? You know, more renters, more investors putting um, more product on the market is actually going to lower rental prices. Um, I'll jump to that other article here real quick. We'll jump to this chart. Um, we'll we'll talk about this here. Um, and this is why we should be cheering for the mom and pop investors. And I wanted to show this chart here. And again, this article is from Housing Wire, and it was percentage. I don't know if you can see this chart or not. Percentage of single family home purchases by investors. Okay. And if you see at the top here, the red are investors with 3 to 9 properties. The bulk of the investors out there are um, just mom and pop investors. It's not, you know, the investors that have 1,000 plus properties. Okay, that is, it constitutes, in July, that was 2.16 of the market. Okay, so the bulk of investors out there um, are mom and pop. Okay, but you can see, though. Look at this. You can see that number. I mean, it's gone up a little bit, but I mean, and I think um, MH08 brings up a great point. Mom and pop investors are being regulated out of the industry. I own a perfect rental, but I'll never be a landlord in Colorado. So uh, uh, I can understand that. I was a mom and pop investors, and I sold my inventory because it just got to be such a headache. Okay, um, but yeah, the rental property. I think people have the impression that it is just this windfall and it's passive income and all of this money is going to be made out of it. It's not as easy. First off, it's the furthest thing from being passive. Now, in late night infomercials, they make it seem like it's all that in a bag of chips, but in reality, it's not. Um, when your phone rings as an investor, it's going to cost you money. So that's my take on it. But um, let's see, we got some more. We got some great chat here going on. Um, I don't know, Angie. What do you think? Do you think they should? And I can see where um, people are frustrated because a couple of years ago, people were getting beat out of homes because there were um, there were 15 offers and they would lose to a cash buyer. So I get where people are frustrated about that. I get that. Um, but right now we have more inventory. So if there's all this inventory out there and all these investors buying it, well, why aren't they buying current inventory? So, Angie, what do you think? Do you think investors should be limited on that, or? And everybody, here's the thing, guys, and everybody. I don't have the answer. I mean, I can have my thought process about it, but that doesn't mean it's right. So I know there's people that are passionate on both sides of this. I tend to think that if you limit, um, um, you know, and some of those, here's the other thing too. These corporate investors, okay, it doesn't seem like they're. I mean, we have more inventory than we ever have now. Well, where are they buying it now? You know, and some. Okay, let's see. Let's get back to the chat here. Let's see. Clark says, I'm scared because I'm in Atlanta. I think those corporate will mess up our prices down here and keep home buyers out. And I can appreciate that. That's I can understand that. I mean, um, I think if we and it, there has to be a point to where you have to, uh, if you are able to build more, like we have a builder here in town. We're very fortunate. We're very blessed in Omaha, Nebraska, in that we have new construction. You get other markets like the Northeast, New Jersey, someplace like that. They don't have any new construction. So guess what? They can only fight over their current inventory. And what is that doing to prices? It is driving them higher. You look at New York, they have rent control. It sounds like a great term. Okay, everybody would like their rent to be controlled and not to get too high. But guess what? That decreases investment. And what happens to rent in a place like New York? You have landlords that don't take care of the units. You have fewer options for renters. If a renter can go somewhere else and get it, competition lowers prices. That's my thought process on that. So let's see. Our senator is trying to cap the corporate investors from buying down here. They own a lot. Well, yep. And then, here's the thing too. We'll see how that pans out. I mean, hopefully, there's, um, you got to have folks to be able to, the opportunity to buy home. Now, if rates go down, that's going to free up more, um, make homes more affordable. So that's, uh, and this is going to take years to unwind, because it's like you have to have wages increase, and they just don't increase overnight. And when you have inflation, that is a hidden tax, and they should have raised rates sooner. So, um, let's see, 30% of our single family in the metro are owned by investors. Okay. Um, and I don't know what it is locally, but I would think that, that, you know, now are they owned? I would be interested to know how many of that 30% are the folks that are institutional investors that own 1,000 units or more. Like, we have a builder here in town, Celebrity Homes. They build new construction, entry level. They don't allow investors to purchase in their neighborhoods. Now we have another builder who is DR Horton, and DR Horton will allow investors to buy their product. So um, that um, just something, it's kind of interesting. Okay, Angie says, gotcha. Okay. Corporate investors, not even mom and pop. Uh, Gotcha. Okay. So you're saying 30% are corporate investors. Wow. Yeah, that's um let's see. You familiar with that rental guy there in Omaha? I don't know who that guy is, but okay. Let's see. Yes, they're in my. All right. Um, yeah, that's true. It is. And you know what? I would think for a corporate investor, I couldn't imagine for a mom and pop, you know, dealing with issues on a grand scale, how big of that is. And yeah, that would, yeah. And you might not even cash flow as people think. Maybe a couple $100 a month. Yeah, it's not uh, it's not the panacea that people make it out to see. Now, people like to make it out like they're all that in a bag of chips, but it's over time, and you not every deal is you know gonna pan out. I mean, I had one go completely south on me, and honestly, it would have been better just burning that money in a Weber grill as opposed to buying that house. The day I bought it, I lost money. It was, you learn a lesson, and I paid the price for it. MOH said, money is like water. It's going to go where it's going to go. Yep. Let's see. Angie says, I don't think people buying one or two homes are okay. I think people buying one or two homes are okay, but not hundreds, especially not foreign investors. Yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, um, yeah, it makes you kind of worried when you see about, we have a lot of farm ground, obviously in Nebraska, and you hear stories about, um, the Chinese buying ground next to a military base and that sort of thing. So that's kind of scary. But here's the other thing too. This is what you hear in the press, and then it's like, well, what's actually true? So, but you know, um, yeah, that I knew a pop here in Colorado who owned 80 properties. Yeah, and that person owned 80 properties. I mean, that's a lot of work right there. And sometimes, when you have a rental property portfolio, that's like a job. That's not like this bonanza of instant money. You know what I mean? So yeah, uh, and I'm not down on investing. I mean, obviously I've been doing it. I did it for a while, and I think it's a great way to build wealth over time. But it's not the panacea that it's out there. Yes, I agree, at Angie. Buying a couple of homes doesn't hurt, but buying hundreds is just excessive and can manipulate prices in a neighborhood. Okay. Um, but also, I mean, think about it this way, Clark. If you have all of a sudden you have all of these rentals out there, okay, if you have an abundance of rentals, what is that going to do to rent prices? Rent would go down, wouldn't it? If you have an abundance of rentals. Now, I can't believe. Now, somebody really smart out there figured out or knew that, okay, we have home prices that are unaffordable. We have people in debt. We have student loan debt and all of this other stuff. And they were really smart and they built all of these apartment buildings. So somebody a lot smarter than me figured out, and we got an abundance of apartment buildings being built. Um, so if if that's somebody figured out that we need um, all these apartments. So let's see here. Um, I think we're unwinding from 2008, and you know what, MH08. I have thought that as well, because for the last decade we didn't build enough homes, and we're still, um, that. Then we went into the pandemic, and that threw things for a loop. And I have thought that as well. And now we have folks that uh, are kind of trapped in their current home because they have that 3% interest rate, and the only people that are moving are the people that have to move. But the problem is you have so many folks that. Now here's the thing too. In a place like, I was talking to a client today, we were out looking at homes, and he was like in California and in San Francisco and places like that. He said the only people buying homes in those markets are foreign investors. So I don't know how they're doing it. I don't know how a person buys a home that is $1 million. I mean, I think in the Omaha market, we look at a $400,000 home, and to me, that's a lot of money. And you look at places like California, and you know, um, when $1 million or $2 million, who can live there? I mean, who can afford that? Okay, um, that uh, I yeah, I agree. We need more affordable homes, and we also need to make things more for folks that like manufactured housing and things like that. And even that has, uh, if you listen to Christina Smallhorn, how you have investors buying up these manufacturing home lots and then driving up the rent. Um, I think there has to be some, you know, let folks, start out in a manufactured home and get something, or maybe devise some sort of financing to where they can um, buy that type of housing to get started. That my parents did that when they first started in the 50s, and they lived in a trailer, and they would always talk about it, and they looked back on it real fondly, and but that's how they started out. Is they started out in a trailer, and you got to get people to where they can get a foot in the door. But there, you got a lot of that NIMBY, not in my backyard. People don't want a trailer park in their backyard and that sort of thing. So there has to be some, and then you got investors buying up those trailer parks and then taking advantage of those folks and then driving up the rents and that sort of thing. So that uh, let's see, 30% of all are does not include mom and pop. Okay, well, okay. Let's see. Corporate investors can hire property managers. Amen. I had a property manager, and honestly, that was the best investment I ever made. Otherwise, I'd have been driven crazy, or divorced. Let's see. It's not the monthly amount, but the equity. I kept my whole old home, and it's been worth it. Yep, and that's yep. Let's see. Uh, the corporate investors are down here. Yep, and you have to at that level. I mean, that would and then they have to have deep pockets for the lawsuits that are going to entail with that. And there's a lot of regulation that goes along with housing, so it's not uh, a lot more to it. People think um, you got to know the rules and regulations like that. I have a friend, Paul Vocheski. He has a YouTube channel called Nebraska Landlord. If you're from Nebraska, you should take a look at that channel. I had him on the live stream before. So let's see here. Yep, that was his job. My parents owned an apartment building, and it was sometimes a full-time job. Exactly. Yeah. When I was little, my parents had uh, an apartment, a little a fourplex, two fourplexes. And when we had a snow day, guess what? We were the little workforce that went and shoveled the snow. And my dad would have never dreamt of having a property manager. I mean, honestly, that would have drove him nuts. But mowing the grass and that when summertime, hey, we had to go work at the apartments first before, um, you know, yeah. But you're right, Angie. I mean, it is a full time job. I agree. Um, they do use those algorithms to set rents. Yeah, that I mean, um, I don't know. I mean, it's yeah. The rent will definitely go down with a lot. And here's the problem, and that is rent is so unaffordable. I look at what people pay for rents, and I'm just like, good Lord. And even, a few years back when I had a couple of my properties, I would ask my property manager what we were charging for rent. And I'm like, good grief. I can't believe people are willing to pay that. I mean, it's just, people have to get into that ownership cycle, um, because rent is never going to go down. It tends to always go up. So, uh, but yeah, yeah. I mean, I live in California and there are many family buying homes in my town, and that's what it is. You also have that mentality of the person that's buying a home. It is, at least in the Omaha market, it is not the single person. Okay. It used to be a single person could buy a home in our local market. That was when, hey, you could buy a brand new home for $195,000. $195,000. In those times, we didn't have all of these apartments being built. But now, when your entry level new construction is $300,000, guess what? Now you're starting to see those apartment complexes being built because it is so unaffordable. And I think of Omaha and I look at what we pay for property, and I look at California and I'm just like, and you still got folks. What about the folks that are living in tents? And you have in California, you have the working poor where, hey, they're working and they're still in an RV parked alongside of the road. So there's folks like that. You got the folks that are, on drugs and that sort of thing, living in tents and, in the woods and that sort of thing. But you got a lot of working poor in California that are hardworking folks and they're living in a broken down RV along the side of the road. Um, yeah. And cities don't want trailer parks. Yeah. And that's, yeah, and that's a problem. I think that's a problem because I think that would be an affordable option to get people into that ownership cycle. And yeah, I think that's. Um, I don't want nobody to think I'm a Debbie Downer, but with buying homes or investment properties, just looking at from my market and the people chatting with down here looking to buy one today, and people should be given that opportunity to buy homes and that sort of thing. I'm 100% with that. Yeah. And then Angie says my dad inherited the building after a few years. He had enough. Yeah, and I can understand that. I was an investor for 32 years, and after that, I don't miss it. I thought I would, but I don't. Rents do go down in Denver. Okay. Yep. All right. Um, and many here rent rooms in single family homes bought for that and pay $1,000 per room. Wow. Yeah. I think you're going to start to see where, um, and I've had this discussion with other um, friends of mine and things like that. It's like, hey, should you buy a couple of houses and just set them aside for your kids for when they get older? Um, and I also think you're going to have more people. You're going to see more multi generational where you're going to have a family, and it's going to be a bunch of folks living there. So, uh, yeah, that's Clark said it right there. We're starting to see an influx of multi generational buying. I got a call the other day with a grandmother, mother, and daughter looking to buy a property they can all live in. I completely can see that where that's coming around the corner. And Clark, you're probably going to see it. And Emma and Angie too. You guys in those higher priced markets, you're going to see that. But I think it's coming our way as well. So, um, yeah, I've seen some beautiful trailer parks, units with good space, tree lined streets. It is rare now. And there's some that are, um, not as nice. But I think that I was looking online one time on Zillow, and this could have been a couple years back. A trailer park in Malibu, and they were like can't remember how expensive these trailers were in Malibu, but it was crazy expensive. So yeah, MOH says rents are down 5% this year. Okay. Uh, Angie says there's a 5-bedroom house down the street that just rents rooms and they have a waiting list. Yeah. Angie, do you mind sharing what part of California you're from? If you don't mind sharing, what is Southern California, or you're in the Bay Area, that sort of thing? What part of California are you from? Yeah, it's Southern California. Yeah, I just helped some buyers relocate from Southern California, and they I spoke with her a couple days ago, and I wanted to have her on a live stream. So I reached out to her to see if she'd be on the live stream. She said she would later on down the road here, but it's kind of fun because she loves Omaha. So it's kind of fun to see people excited about our city and what we have to offer. As I meet people in other markets and talk to other agents like Clark in Atlanta, and I look at what they're dealing with and the opportunity we have here in Omaha. Now we have bad weather, and yeah, our property taxes are higher, but I just think I'm excited about what we have as far as a city goes. So I think it makes me very grateful that where I live, because I just think there's still opportunity for folks. Hey, all right, I'll be in Omaha next week for about 2 hours. All right. Yeah, we're expanding our airport. So, yeah, so we're getting a $950 million airport expansion. And so we have a lot of things going along within our city that's pretty exciting. So, um, Angie says, I haven't been in Omaha since I was a kid. Angie, you would not believe the amount of growth that's taken place. So, like I said, I was out today with a new buyer relocating and showing them, and we were in this one area, and I was saying, well, yeah, 5 years ago this was all farm ground all around, and that road didn't exist or anything like that. And he was just kind of got a kick out of that. So yeah, that I don't know where we're at in the articles and that sort of thing, but um, great chat. It's fun to chat with you guys. I appreciate that. Um, let's see. MH08 says I-80 through Omaha is one of my favorite stretches of interstate. All right. um, Angie says, do you mind the changes and influx of people? Um, I like the changes that are going on. Now um, we have a little bit more traffic, but when I say something about it, people will put me in my place and go, you don't know what traffic is until you've driven in Southern California. And then when I go visit someplace, I was in Dallas earlier this year, and I don't know what road I was on, but I thought I was on a pretty main drag, and that thing was crowded. So yeah, I mean, um, I don't, I don't mind I think some of the changes. There's always going to be. Um, I think some of the changes we have are really exciting. So I think, um, you know, the influx of people. I think when people, you know, I think that's like I said, I get a kick out of our city, and I enjoy this, uh, seeing some of these changes and things like that. So I think it's kind of fun for folks, and it makes me appreciate Omaha a lot. From doing this channel, it makes me appreciate Omaha a lot more um, when I hear what other people deal with, and I'm like, wow, okay. Um, yeah, Southern California, nothing compared to Chicago. Yeah, I mean um, yeah, I've been to Chicago once, and I'd like to go to New York. I've never been to New York City, but I'd like to go there. But um, I watch videos on New York City, and of course, videos. It's like people are always going to accentuate the negative and things like that. But um, yeah, let's see. I'm planning on moving out of state, and many don't want people from somewhere else, yet we've had to deal with it for decades. I think people from Omaha are pretty welcoming. Um, I think that, um, I don't, I don't see it as it's kind of fun for me because I got somebody that's relocating from New York, and they're like, they were amazed at people mowing their yards. So it was just kind of like, oh yeah, that's what we got to do. You got to, okay. MOA says Farnham. Yes, that's Farnham Street is a crazy street because if you're not from, even if you're from Omaha, Farnham is confusing, but Farnham is one way early in the morning and it's one way in the afternoon in rush hour traffic. And then it's, both ways, you know, during the day. So then we also have the same thing going down Dodge Street. Dodge Street is our major street. And there's the middle lane is one way going east in the morning, and then it's one way going. They call it the suicide lane, which I can't say that because I'm sure they get demonetized or whatever. But they call it the suicide lane because if you're not paying it, you got to pay attention to the little green arrow or red X. Don't drive if you're driving down Dodge Street and there's a red X above you, then you're in the wrong lane. I never drive in the I'm a slow driver, so I never drive in the left lane anyway. Uh, New Yorkers aren't rude; they're just in a hurry and actually nice people. All right. Yeah, which I can appreciate that. Yeah, my folks from New York, they're wonderful to work with, and we've had a good time. So yeah, that uh, I feel like all the New Yorkers have moved down here. Okay, yeah, probably. I think there's going to be more. Um, I was in Georgia. Oh, it had been about 30 years ago. Fort Benning, down there for uh, the National Guard and uh, for training. Um, I almost did that. But northern Georgia. Okay. Um, we had a lane like that in Minneapolis. The center lane was blocked by a pylon for a railroad bridge. Okay. Yeah, that's all right. Okay. Let's all right, let's do this. Let's take a peek at home prices here real quick. Kind of got off on the articles there. Let's look at this right here is the again, all the numbers aren't back yet for July. So we're looking at these numbers. These are kind of a little sneak peek at the numbers. But July, the median closed sales price in Douglas and Sarpy County was $339,200, which is up 5.3% compared to 2024. So last year it was kind of flat during July, and then sure enough, the price went up. Now let's look at the number of homes for sale. Okay, and this is both new construction and existing. Okay, and this is we have a 13% increase in inventory. So compared to 2024. Hey, and we have let's see. All right. Caitlin Amala, hello from Arizona. We're moving to Papillion in March. You provide great content, and your video gave us a lot of insight into all things Omaha. Well, thank you, Caitlin. All right, terrific. Well, you're going to love Papillion. People love Papillion. It's uh, Papillion's a great place. So you'll welcome to Omaha. We have a lot of folks. There's kind of a Omaha, Arizona connection. We have a lot of people retiring from to Arizona, and then we have folks coming in from Arizona. So welcome to Omaha. I mean, welcome to Nebraska. You're gonna, I had a, you know, got to become big Red fans now. it's getting that time of year where everybody is all excited over the big red. So you have to put up with us Nebraska fans. So I appreciate you. You enjoy the videos. Thank you. So I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. Thank you. All right. And then let's see. People from California are coming. This they like 4 seasons without getting too cold. Yeah, I can appreciate that, Clark. That um, yeah, I could, in January, my client from Southern California, she loves Omaha, but boy, she has not gone through a January yet. So we'll see how that goes. But she's ready. I had some other clients from Southern California. It was kind of funny. It was when we went out and show a home in January. It was snowing and they were all bundled up, and I had my just my hoodie on, but my green hoodie that I always wear. It's the only thing it fits, but it was just kind of funny because they looked like they were dressed for the Arctic, and it was funny. So they really enjoy Omaha. I spoke with him a while back, and they were just enjoyed it, and they were sharing some of the things, and he was shocked at what he could buy in Omaha compared to Southern California. So that's fun for me to see. So yeah, that's cool. And then Angie says, let's see here. Oh, please give the live stream a thumbs up, and then don't forget to subscribe to the channel. All right, and let's see what else do we got. Angie says, "Yep, definitely not too cold. I'm originally from Germany. I'd like to go to Europe. That's one of my goals is to go to Europe here. So I moving to Chattanooga area now. All right, terrific, excellent. So and Clark says, gives it a laugh. All right, all right. But this is the numbers for July in terms of the inventory, and then." Let's see, we'll look at a line graph and we'll go back 10 years. Okay. And I think this is interesting because this is the number of homes for sale. And then look at the numbers now. Um, and this is July 2025. We had 2,200. And um, you're not seeing, like in July of 2017, we had 1,900. In July of 2018 we had 1,900. So we're above inventory wise pre-pandemic. So inventory is increasing. Okay. And yeah, so let's see, MOH says after acclimating, zero can feel warm, and that is true. When it's down -20 and it warms up to zero, boy, that's a horrible thing to say, you know. So that's yeah. Let's see. Right now, near the border of Georgia and Tennessee, Chattanooga is pretty area, not far from Atlanta and Nashville. Yeah, that's that. I've never been to Nashville. I'd like to go there. I think that'd be kind of fun, you know. Um, this is the, and then let's look at the pending sales. Okay, this is inventory. Now this is construction type, and we'll look at new construction. Okay. And when the market gets tougher, new construction is going to dial back a little bit. And then look at existing. We've had an increase in existing home sales. And that's just because life is going to happen. People are going to move. I mean, um, life events are going to create real estate transactions. Okay. And then Angie says, my family is there now. Beautiful. Okay. Excellent. Okay. Wave at Barstow as you go through. Okay. And then let's see, closed sales. Let's look at closed sales and we'll take this out. Again, all of the numbers for July, all of the closing may not be logged in the MLS yet. So it may not be down 4% in terms of the number of closed sales. Okay. But let's look at this on a 5-year time frame. Okay. And you can see um, how this is seasonality, and you can see that in June of 2025 we had 1,114, or excuse me, 144 closed sales, and then what happens in July? The numbers decrease, and you can see that. See, this is June of 2023, sales decrease, and during the pandemic, 2021, look at July of 2020, we had 1,500 sales back then. And then what happened? August, it decreases. So you start seeing not as many homes um, being sold as we go into fall. And that happens every year. And you can see there's a seasonality to it. Okay. And then the number of sales bottoms out in the wintertime. Like in January of 2023, we had 526 closed sales. Well, and remember, January sales are a result of December contracts. Well, what's going on in December? You got people doing Christmas and that sort of thing. So, that's just, and then what happens in the spring? The number of sales increase. But look at the peaks. These peaks in these years, I need a little red marker to highlight this. The number of sales, the number of closed sales is just not as high. Okay. So, sales are depressed, and that's because things are unaffordable. So, but that's let's look at let's see, days on market. We'll do this as a bar graph. I like that. And this is the median days on market. Okay, and you can see that has increased. Okay. And then the average, there's the median, and then there's the average. So the average days on market is 23, and the median is 7. Okay. And some of that's going to be skewed from new construction and that sort of thing. And then percent of list price. And then when you look at the average, then you can start to see that, hey, we're not getting 100% anymore. The average is 99.3 of the last list price. So if you overprice it and then lower the price, they're looking at from the last list price on that. Okay. And then Angie says, I'll step on the gas as I pass through Barstow. Okay. All right. But those are the little peak. Let's look at those are the numbers from the MLS. And then what I thought we would do is, I'll share this here, is we'll look at, I did a poll, and, we're talking about affordability and how, you know, what other opportunities are out there. So what I thought I would do is take a look at the MLS, and we're looking at all active. Okay. And then we're looking in Douglas and Sarpy County. Okay. And then in the public remarks, I typed in the word assumable, okay, to see what's out there in terms of assumable loans. Okay, what that means is, let's say you have a home for $400,000, okay, and let's say there is a 3% VA assumable loan. You don't have to be a veteran in order to assume a VA loan. Now you have to be able to qualify for that loan. Okay. But let's say that veteran paid $350,000 for that property, and they have a mortgage just to say let's just say it's 350,000. Okay. And now they're selling it for 400,000. Well, what can happen is, if you can cover that $50,000 and you can qualify for that VA assumable loan, now you can take over that payment at that 3% interest rate. So that is an opportunity out there. So, but right now, I don't know if you can see this or not, but we have 19 homes with that criteria. Okay. Funny how assuming a loan has fallen so far out of favor that over the past decades that so many people don't even know how they work. And amen. And well, and the reason why MH08, and that is um, because rates were so low for so long that you didn't have to assume it. You would have the next person coming along would have a 3% interest rate. So, or a 4% interest rate. Rates were so low for so long. I'll show you that on this. Let's go back, max here. Let's see, go. Okay, this right here is the 30-year fixed rate mortgage. Okay. Look at 2010. Rates were, hey, 3%, 3.5%, 4%, 3.5% for a decade after the great financial crisis. We had sub 5% interest rates. Okay. Then in the pandemic, look at that, 2.83%. And then what happened? Boom, they shot up and we've been at 7%. Okay. But look back to the 1980s. Look at that. Mortgage interest rates, 17%. Good Lord. Who could afford anything, you know, back then? I mean, that's craziness. But in 2000, I remember right after the pandemic, or not right after the great financial crisis, 2009 rates were at 5% and people were just going crazy, so let's see. Jackie had a great guest yesterday on Assumables. Yep. I missed her show, but yeah, it's a great opportunity out there. So yep. Clark says he agrees. So let's see. My first rate was at 7%. Yeah. And and I think there's a lot of people right now on the sidelines thinking, well, hey, rates will go down, but who knows what rates will do? Rates are going to do whatever they want to do. So it's the market on that. And then, okay, we'll go back to the MLS here. Oh, my session expired. Okay, let me log back in here real quick. All right. And it'll be just a second. Let me log back in. Active. And I'll share this tab here. And then we're going to go county, Douglas and Sarpy. Douglas and Sarpy. And then under, we're going to go down here under public remarks. We're going to look for the word assumable. Okay. Contains the word assumable. And then 19 homes pop up. So let's take a look at some of these here. And this one here, 901 Claudine Avenue with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. This one's 4.99% assumable VA loan. So there's an opportunity right there for somebody. And then let's see this next one, 4614 Clearwater, VA assumable loan. Okay. That's in Papillion. So, all right. And then MOH says my first was 6.8, then 8.6, then 3.3. Wow, good. Yep. Let's see this next one. This one's another assumable, 3.25% assumable loan. So there's opportunities out there. This one here, 2.25% assumable loan. And this one's with Nebraska Realty. Okay. Let's take a look at that thing. That looks like a nice looking place. Got the fence going on. Oh, look at that. Marine Corps. Hoorah. All right. All right. Nice looking place. But yeah, that's a 2.25% assumable loan. Got the hardwood floors going on. And it was built, year built 2010. Okay, so let's see this next one. This one's $375,000. And this one has a 3% VA assumable loan. Okay, look what you get for $375,000 in Omaha, Nebraska. Or is that in? Yeah, that's in Omaha. Okay. Another one. 3.5% assumable. Okay. I remember people getting excited about assuming a 7% loan in the early 80s. Yep. I mean, when rates were at 13% or 18%, I mean, yeah, I'd be excited about a 7% assumable. Exactly. Yeah. So there's opportunity out there. Now, the problem comes with, you can't, um, uh, yeah, I wish assumable loans were available for conventional financing. Yeah, I'm with you on Clark. I don't I don't know why that. Do you know why, Clark, that what's the reasoning why they're not assumable? Um, I'd be curious about that. I don't know why what's the reasoning behind it. Um, but that would, there's a lot of people that, um, you have a lot of kind of folks that will do a subject to, okay? You'll have a lot of folks, investors out there that want to they take advantage of people, and you got to be careful about this. And you got to be careful about this because when you have a mortgage, okay, there's a thing called a due on sale clause. Okay. That means that if you have a conventional loan, I can't just say, hey, Clark can't, say, hey, I'll take over your payments and I'll give you some money. And then we won't tell the bank about it. That you can't. That's it. That MOH hit it right out of the park right there. Banks don't make money on assumables. Yes, that's 100%. That's 100%. That's the answer. Yeah, yeah, that's 100% true on that. Yeah, um, yeah, that. Um, Here's another one, 415,000 and a 4.75 assumable VA loan. And that's one of the benefits of a VA loan. And um, a lot of people, you know, VA loans have a few more hoops to jump through. It has to, but I mean, it's a great opportunity. If you have the money saved up, let's see. Um, Clark says, I'm not sure. I need to ask one of my lender colleagues to get more details about why it isn't available for conventional. Yeah, I think, um, yeah, FHA is too. Um, yep, any government backed loan. Yeah, I mean, so, and that's 3.5% assumable. But there's opportunities out there, and that's $430,000. Now, what is the loan balance? That's the question. But there's another assumable. This one's contract pen. And I'm sorry, I know you guys can't read this writing down here. So, I don't know that StreamYard there, but contract pending, when you see that in the MLS or in the description, that means it's under contract and it's there's a contingency or something like that. But that's something. Yeah, her guest said that. Not original thought. I don't know. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, lenders don't like it when people assume a loan. And here's the thing with an assumption. I just did one for a client coming in from New York, and we wrote the contract back in April. or it might have been, yeah, it was early April. Um, and it didn't close until August. So if you're doing an assumption, it takes time. So understand that. So you got to be patient if you're doing an assumption, and there's a lot of they can be kind of quirky and that sort of thing, but it's a great opportunity. Here's another one, 450. Um, and let's see, 2.75% VA loan for qualified buyers. Okay, 20% price improvement. They lowered the price, so uh, there's another one. Contract pending. Okay, but that's a nice one there. 479. That's on the market for backup offers. Okay, another one, 565, and that one's. Let's see, that one's in Elkhorn. Okay, out there. I don't know if you can see this map or not. Out by 204th, a lot of growth going on out there. Yeah, it's a lot. Beautiful home though, 565. Let's see. We were, yeah, we were. Yeah, I agree. I was like, wow, that was. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, but there's opportunities out there. So I mean, there's loan assumptions and that sort of thing. We're creeping up here on price, 4.5%, 625,000. But in Southern California, 625,000. Um, this let's take a look at the photos here. This, I mean, either that tree is a disease or it was earlier this year. They got a lot of pictures, but do they have any front photos? I want to see the front of the house. Earth looks early spring. Yeah. Where's the front photo? That's kind of drives me crazy. Yeah, got a massive. All right. Let's see. 16. There's 635. Let's see. 2.25% assumable. Wow. Yeah, that's maybe I'm doing shopping for myself. Let's see. Looks early spring. Yep. And then in Southern California, you'd have to go to Compton for that price. Wow. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. 795. And this is 829. And that's a 2.75% assumable. Yeah, that's a beautiful place. Beautiful photos on that thing. Yeah, that's what listed with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Ambassador Real Estate. That's a beautiful looking place. Yeah, 2.75% assumable. Wow, that's unbelievable. I might actually have a buyer for that one. I've got to reach out to my client on that one. That's a good one. And then this is just under $1 million. So what is $1 million buy in Southern California? Probably. Yeah. Oh, yeah. What about? Okay. Yeah. Let's go back to the taxes on it. Let's go back. 829. How much are the taxes? Well, the taxes kind of surprising. $10,410. Huh. On this $1 million property. How much are the taxes? $19,000 a year. Wow. Never really own your property. That's crazy. I wonder what the insurance is. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, Well, I tell you what, gang, we've been going for an hour and 10 minutes. Had fun tonight. Hope you guys got some value out of it. And, it's always fun. It's fun to get into just chat back and forth and that sort of thing. So, uh, yeah. Any other final questions or anything like that? Anything you guys have? Anything else that you're interested in? Oh, we didn't talk about the job. We'll bring this up here. What about the United States unemployment rate? The unemployment rate went up, and then in Douglas County, the unemployment rate is 3.5%, and it's up from 3.4% last year. And in the Sarpy County, um, it's 3.1%. So yeah, that's anyway. Hey, everybody! I tell you what, it's always fun. Clark, thank you very much. Go visit. Let's pull up Clark's channel here real quick. Hold on a second. Go check out Clark. Clark, I love your avatar. That is really well done. Go check out. Let's see here. Clark the Realtor. Go. There he is, right there. There's our buddy Clark. I didn't get finished with your video today, Clark. So yeah, but he's works the Atlanta area. So does some short form content. I got to do more shorts. So yeah, that's but give Clark a follow and give him a subscribe, that sort of thing. So cool. And then let's see what let's take a look here. What do you think about all the hype about the housing market crashing? Angie, I don't think the market is going to crash. In fact, I thought it was kind of now. Couldn't there be a correction? Sure. And in some markets, could the market correct? Yes. But I don't think overall, if you look at the last 70 years of the housing market, it's been a number of years where the overall housing market has went down over the number of years. So I think there was like 91 and 92 price declines, and then in 2008 through 2012 prices went down. So I don't see, and in fact, the um, the fellow that does reventure consulting, Nick Gurley, he did a post where he is going to be in the process of buying a home. So I thought that was funny because he is the ultimate. He has 600 some thousand subscribers, but he put it out in his community feed, and I watch that content too because, I mean, it's bad news sells, and so people click on it, and I click on it too. Um, but he himself is buying a home, so you got to live somewhere, and if all those folks that could have bought, I mean, you talk to somebody who could have bought in 2018, go back to them and ask them if they regret. There's always going to be regret. Any home you buy, looking back, you're going to be like, I should have done things differently. That's really clear. That's really easy to um, go back and second, have, you know, regrets about things. That's the normal course of business. But he himself is in the process of buying a home. So if sales are going to, I mean, if the market's going to crash, then why is he buying a house? So, but he has to live somewhere. So I think all the power to you. I think overall, there's a whole cottage industry in this whole YouTube space where he's built a substantial following. I mean, he's got 600,000 subscribers, and he gets hundreds of thousands of views, and he's laughing. He can probably buy that home because he produces all of that content. So he's making good money off his channel. So hey, hats off to him in terms of that. So he produces content that people watch. So hats off to him for that. I mean, but yeah, Angie, that's my thought process. I don't think it's, can prices go down? Yes. But I mean, I don't think it's going to, you know, we're not going, will inventory increase? Now, here's the thing too. If you're a seller, you got to be realistic on your price. I mean, it's not the market that it was, 3 years ago, that sort of thing. But that's my thought process on that. So, um, not a fan of shorts. Okay, good, good. So I'm not a fan of shorts either, but I've been told I should be doing them. So, and Angie, you agree? Okay, terrific. And oh, thank you very much, Clark. I have a good team that helps me out on the editing and that sort of thing. So I'm very fortunate on that. Thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, no, um, and Clark says, Angie says he's weird. He- he's getting a lot of clicks, so I got a lot of subs. I mean, he's killing the YouTube space. I mean, he's got good thumbnails and everything. But Clark, you're welcome. You know, uh, I saw his post. I'm going to see what he does. Good for him. It'll be interesting how that works out. MOH says, funny. That's why I bought. I need a place to live, and rents we're just starting to skyrocket in Denver. Exactly. Yep. I mean, um, yep, I agree. It's life. I agree. We all have ups and downs. You win some, you lose some, but you never know unless you're going to try. Absolutely. Yep. I've been told a lot of things. All right, terrific, everybody. Well, hey, I appreciate it, and then we'll remember to, if you can subscribe to my channel, that'd be terrific. And then, but anyway, everybody, I will let you guys go. We ran a little bit long tonight, but I appreciate everybody tuning in, and go ahead and uh, subscribe to the channel and all that sort of good thing. Bye, Angie. Thank you for stopping by. Everybody, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate everybody who's done this. A lot of fun. I love having the chat. I mean, that makes it so much funner. So you guys make the show. So I appreciate it. Hey, you guys have a great night, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye bye.